Hey guys, in this video, we're going to have our crazy appraiser stories with Amos Archer. He's going to tell some of the stuff that he's run into along the way, so stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back to the Buzz Coffee and Real Estate. We're just laughing because as we've talked about, crazy stories with insurance agents, lenders, home inspectors. When you go into a lot of houses, you just see things. It's just weird. So anyway, we're back with Amos and really just wanted to dive into, you've been in this 11 years now. What are some crazy stuff that you've experienced?
So I'll start out with the best one and then
Work our way down.
work my way down to least interesting, like getting fleas, which happens in about one house every 3 months, I would say. And it's my least favorite scenario. Though I did step on fire ants once and basically had to strip down in somebody's garage.
That's interesting.
So probably the weirdest experience I had was a house, and I won't say the community, but it was in an area that I would say you've got a larger percentage of people there that are artistic and kind of free thinkers.
Yeah.
Self-expression is at an all-time high in this particular region.
My.
We're talking the hippie movement
Here
right
we
now.
go.
So this house, we went down a long tree-lined driveway to a very secluded property, and as we were measuring, it was me and my supervisor, we were measuring this house, and it became clear that there was an artistic person there because this person was painting little face masks and had them all over the yard. And so, I walked around the corner and thought that there was just a dead face looking at me, but it was just masks hanging on trees. So I was jumping constantly at this property. And I think it kind of set me a little on edge. I wasn't sure what I was running into. And as we got inside the house, some of these face painting sculptures had things like screwdrivers driven through their forehead. It got a little dark.
A lot dark.
So we're inspecting this house, and we go up onto the second floor, and that's when we discovered that the homeowner, in addition to being into this unique artwork, was also a nudist and was documenting this lifestyle through photos of himself in states of undress that were hung all around this one particular room. And he was standing behind us. So that was definitely the weirdest thing, was to then have to turn around and be like, well, I've now seen you naked.
Now just shake your hand.
53 positions here.
Yes. Thankfully, all of them tasteful.
What was the age of this guy?
Old enough to have a lot of gray hair.
Okay. Something you don't want to see in the first place.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Wow. So man, and you stayed in the industry.
Yeah.
You didn't run.
I mean, it's a job.
Wow.
So that would probably be the craziest one. Another one that happened was in a kind of a more historic neighborhood where there were a lot of older Victorian-style homes, and I was still a trainee at this point. So my supervisor and I pull up to this one specific house, and it's got all the shutters drawn. It's Victorian, kind of in a state of disrepair, so it's a little creepy from the outside.
A little haunted house-esque.
Yes. And this old woman answers the door, and she's got a bit of an accent where you're like, she's not from this area, but very stately, just very you're like, this is a classy yet elderly woman.
Yeah.
We walk into this house, and it probably was a boarding house at some point, and nothing had changed about the house for probably decades. It was just dated. And it felt odd, but nothing completely out of the ordinary, just an odd feeling.
Yeah.
So we get up onto the second floor, and we walk into a bathroom, and there's just dried blood all over the sink, down the side of the wall, across the floor, into the tub. And I mean, a lot. I mean, either it was blood or just very authentic, strangely colored paint that looked like dried blood.
Oh, my gosh.
And I saw it, and my supervisor came up behind me and was just like, what the heck? And we just stood there for a moment, and my only thought was, she's behind us with a butcher knife. And
out of here.
We are the next victims.
We like finished measuring the second floor so fast, and we are like just running down the steps trying to get out of this house because it was creepy. But like everything about it was like classy and stepping back in time until that moment, and then it just turned into like a horror movie where like we didn't know what we were experiencing. And we make it to the front door, and this woman says, "Oh, you're not going to go into the basement?" And
No.
my supervisor looked at me and he said, "This is on you." And he just stood by the door. And so she opens this like little narrow closet door.
Oh,
And there's
creepy
stairs
old
that
one.
go straight down and then turn. And she's like, "There's only one light back there." So I get down in the basement and I finally get the light on, and it's piled with stuff, and there are mannequins staring at me in this bed. I measured that as best I could, but I'm not sure that it was an accurate measurement because I just like shot my laser from where I could, and then I ran back up the steps. We said goodbye as fast as we could. We got in the car, and as we're driving, the phone rings, and my supervisor answers it on speakerphone, and the woman is like, "And you guys are located at," and she says our exact address that our business is at. It, for some reason, I mean, because of the blood, was the creepiest thing I've ever encountered. And she's probably a very sweet, nice woman. But the way that it played out, I was like, we are going to wind up on the news.
So why didn't you ask any questions?
That was an oversight on my part. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, man.
Those
my
are probably
goodness.
my top two stories by far.
Wow. So tell me about the fleas. You said something about fleas.
Pretty regularly, I wind up in a house with fleas, and for the most part, it's usually just one or two. But fleas love me, so some people can interact with fleas and have virtually no bites. I get bit just the moment that a flea sees me, and I walked into a house within the last year where, as I'm walking in, I'm aware somebody else is on the property, and it was the home inspector. And he comes running around the side of the house as I'm like opening the front door, and he's like, "Don't go in there. There are so many fleas." Like, and I thought he was being dramatic, and I had to go in. And I was like, I'm just going to run through this house as fast as I can. And for that one too, I basically had to strip in the driveway because they were everywhere. And I usually wear dark clothes, so you know it's bad if I can see them crawling on my clothes.
Oh my
It was a
gosh.
true
That's
infestation.
giving me the heebies just listening to you talk about it.
Yeah.
That's about as bad as that inspection story where all the termites fell on his head.
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh.
no, I don't do that. I was in a house once where I opened they had a exterior storage built into the back of the house, and I opened it, and I was feeling around for the light switch, and while I did, it sounded like somebody was crinkling a Walmart bag, you know? Like,
Oh, no.
and I was like, what is making that noise? And I started really looking around. The sound was those cave crickets jumping. There were so many just lining the walls of this exterior storage unit that the sound of their jumping sounded like a Walmart bag being crinkled. And I also noped out of there really quick.
And no.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
Those are the fun ones.
Wow. So just as an estimate, what's the largest square footage house that you have probably appraised? Just
I think it was about 13,000 square
about
feet.
13,000.
wow.
And roughly the oldest?
Verifiably oldest was built in probably the 1850s, I think.
Wow. Okay.
If I remember correctly, I had one that was that old, and I couldn't find any sale that was that old that had closed within 2 years of that property.
Oh, wow.
Most expensive.
Well, so I carry E&O insurance of up to $1 million, and I do not like to go above that. When I was a trainee, I worked on some $3 million properties, but that was about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Because you get beyond that, and you're really in kind of like you need a commercial appraiser to come in.
Ah, gotcha.
Because there are no comps and it's just complicated. And
It's really complicated,
Yeah.
and takes forever to measure a house like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine trying to measure 13,000 square foot.
It took that So now I use an iPad, and I've got a Bluetooth laser that puts the dimensions in, and I just tell it kind of which way the wall goes. At that point, we were sketching things by hand. So I had on this piece of paper this whole just sprawling dimension, and then I had to draw it on the computer when I got back to the office. So it took a couple hours just to draw it. And then occasionally you run into something where you're like, is that a 5 or a 2? And I'm glad that the kind of statute of limitations on being liable has kind of passed for that property. Because if somebody ever decided to sue us over it, I would guess they would find a few errors in that sketch.
Oh. Yeah, and I mean, there'd be nobody, I would pay you to do it, but then you would decline to even go out and do it.
Now I probably would accept, because measuring large homes is about the only joy that I get out of this job.
You get to see these nice houses.
It's fun. You see people's stuff. You find things that you've never seen before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, anyway, thanks for being on again and keeping us laughing.
Yes.
And so hope you've enjoyed this. And we love getting to bring other experts in the real estate industry into this conversation, because there's a lot that we understand. There's a lot that we don't understand. And I've learned a ton from you, and just getting to have this series of videos. So thank you so much for your time and your effort, your energy. And then we'll try to put some links for if you need an appraisal done and have gotten to know Amos a little bit here and would like to do something with that, then we'll help connect you there. So
cool.
Yep.
Well, guys, as usual, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, share it with somebody who would helpful from this content or just needs to laugh. But if you will, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.